Hey everyone, welcome to another KEYMASTER episode. I'm Sven Ryla, and today I got a special guest with me.
Fredrik Skogman from GitHub.
And we're going to talk about tough love today. So Fredrik, what is tough?
Good question. It's a lot of people that are asking it, but I think the simplest way to think about it is the update framework is a framework for securing updates over unsecure channel. And it's an open source project and has been around for at least 10 years, probably.
10 years?
10 years, yeah.
So how does it work?
Oh.
Or like, what's the basic concept of it?
Yeah, right. So I think the most important thing to focus about is like the client. So the client is the part that takes most responsibility because it runs the protocol to fetch the updates and verify the integrity of the update and so on. But basically it's a specification that defines responsibilities for the repository, but also a lot of responsibilities for the client to make sure it's always fetching and verifying the correct information about.
So client-server model,
yeah.
And obviously I guess you have to build this framework into your client to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, so there are a lot of open source clients out there already. So there is the Python one, which is the reference implementation. There is one for Go, there is one for JavaScript, there's one for Java, there is at least 2 for Rust, and probably more that I don't know about.
So what is your use of it, I guess? Because I think we can share that, yeah, you've used it with SigStore.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's heavily used in projects there.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about how it's used?
Right. So the good thing is with the update framework, to sort of sign off changes for the updates, you have an M of N signature scheme, which makes it very reliable to certain attacks like a compromised key, but it also makes it resilient to work with key updates. Like you can easily rotate a key out and then add a new one. So by relying on this M of N scheme, we have a very strong model around the security of the trust root, which are what we are delivering via TUF, like the root certificates, the public key for the transparency logs, and so on. So that makes it like a good sort of N-person rule or 2-person rule or whatever. In this case, it's free. So no
or the 4i principle in that case, right?
Yeah.
So it's always at least 2 people.
Yeah. So no single person can sort of take ownership and try to distribute a malicious certificate. But also it gives us the strong security considerations for the client. Like the client knows that it's always getting the latest update. It knows it can trust it, and there are so many mitigations built into the protocol to make sure that you're not performing like a freeze attack, trying to prevent a client from getting, let's say, the latest update when, let's say, a key is compromised.
Can I use it like in an air-gapped environment?
You cannot really do that because it's centered around that a client should always be able to refresh itself.
So so it requires connectivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You can sort of think about ways around that. Like if you look at typical certificates, you have like either the CRL or you have the OCSP version to kind of make sure that is this certificate still valid. To work in an air gap, you can have a system where you, for instance, run a scheduled job that kind of once a day uploads the CRL.
Or somebody's got to sneaker net it in.
Exactly. So you can think about solutions like that, where you have the TUF client getting the latest update, and then via some messaging system or protocol, you sort of add it into the air-gapped system. So, but TUF itself doesn't really work in an air-gapped environment.
Okay. So for you guys, I mean, you said pushing out roots of trust like that. Mm-hmm. That seems a quite powerful thing to do when you're not PKI based, right?
Yeah.
Like, because with PKI, CMP protocol, for instance, you could easily push a trust out.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me with the TUF side is that you could do such a thing to do that. Can we tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the reasoning is like, if you compare it to web PKI, like it's very complicated and it's hard to get it right and requires a lot of resources and services and
auditing to be trusted in root store programs.
Exactly. So this is, I think, a very easy way to manage trust roots, but you can still get a very good security model around it as long as you have key holders that you trust, of course. Like you need to trust them with. But it's you get like this good language support for clients, and also, as I mentioned, like the security around the server side is very strong with M of N signature scheme.
And then this is something an organization could run to push roots out for them.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a service. People can do their own TUF implementation to do this.
There are a lot of, at least 2 open source projects for coordinating sort of the server side.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about where can I go get information?
Yeah, so there is one called RS TUF, which is an OpenSSF project. And then within the update frameworks organization, we have something called TUF on CI, which is focused around running sort of the TUF automation on an existing CI/CD system. So it makes it easier to sort of start the process, because if you have a CI/CD system that's supported, you kind of add your configuration into there, and then you rely on sort of the build jobs for the CI/CD system to run the automation, get signed timestamps, and whatever that's required by the TUF system to work. RS TUF is slightly different. It's focused more around a typical ecosystem package registry. As an example, I'm just going to say NPM. NPM is not using it, but in NPM, you could use something like RS TUF to easily kind of sign over the package index and distribute that. So there are two. I mean, they are maybe not competing. They're just tailoring different sort of usage of TUF. So TUF on CI is more focused around trust root management system, where the updates are not as frequent, and you might require a higher level of trust, relying more on HSM as an example, offline HSM in particular. So that's, I think, the bigger difference between them. But all in all, they're both, TUF conformant, and any TUF client will work with both of them. So it's more about how what capabilities do we have in an organization in terms of having key custodians, and how frequent do we want to push up updates.
Can you do layers with TUF of having you talked about the root, but can you do a layer below that?
So TUF is already based around 4 different roles, whereas root is like the root role that defines the other roles, very similar to your root certificate. Then you have a targets role, which is focusing on signing over the expected targets, and the targets in TUF speak is some kind of artifact that you're downloading.
Okay.
And then there are snapshot and timestamps, which are more to sort of add certain security aspects to the system. So targets role is the important one, because that's the one that signs over the files that you will download.
So that could be signing over the NPM packages, for instance, like in the example you gave.
Exactly. So, but there is a built-in concept called delegation, so you can sort of further delegate trust within the system by sort of namespacing sort of the set of assets, and via that you can, for instance, distribute trust to a totally complete organization. Let's say as an example, you're dealing with certificates for your VPN clients, and you want to have a different ownership of certificates for on hires and external hires. And for instance, you can have one delegation for employees and one for external employees, and then they can manage their updates independently of each other. So there is a full support for namespacing, so you can even have sub namespaces, and so you can basically create very complicated structures if you want to, and if that fits the organizational need in terms of who is allowed to update or sign off what change.
Wow.
So yeah, it can sound complicated, but depending on how you're running it, it can be very easy to run as well.
Is there any Slack channels at all for that you can get involved to learn about that more too, to have conversation?
Totally. So CNCF Slack, we have Slack channels for general TUF, we have for Go TUF, we have for Python TUF, for TUF on CI, etc. So there is a lot of Slack channels on CNCF where you can find out more.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I hope you had fun with our episode on TUF Love here. Obviously, I love it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.